Hello, adventurers, and welcome back to the Dragon's Lair. Today we are going to be talking about the main wingman himself, Toby. So, let's jump right into it, shall we? Starting off with his strength score. Generally speaking, he's not super strong. He's not the strongest there is in the show, and that's kind of a recurring theme. That being said, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, we should be good when something is chasing him and he's got to find strength in him. He, generally speaking, manages to do so. Namely, the fog rock. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But aside from that, just as a general rule, he's not super strong. After all, he does need the help of a weight-changing curse to lift his warhammer. So there is that to consider. For the score, I would go somewhere around 8 to 10, maybe 12 in the times that he needs it most, but for the normal score, I would go somewhere around 10. Into dexterity. I would say he's marginally better at this, but not a ton. He's not very small, so he's not super hard to hit in that regard, but it does take quite a bit to get through him, so he is able to take a few of those hits, so his AC would be slightly higher. Yeah, he's not super fast, but he can dodge a few attacks, especially when he really seems to need to. That being said, when it comes to sneaking around, he's not the greatest. I don't recall him sneaking around too much, but the few times he does, if I recall correctly, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, we should be good. He does, I believe, get caught, at least the times that I can remember. So there is that. I would be generous, though, and say that the score would be somewhere around 12 to 14, because I would say he's marginally better at dexterity than he is strength, but not by a ton. Into Constitution. This is kind of his score. He's bigger, hardier, healthier sort of thing. He can take quite a few hits, right? He's the sturdy one of the group. Then when you add in the fact of, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, we should be good. The spices, he can handle the spice. And when you beat a living volcano and a Spanish teacher in being able to handle spice, that's going to count for something. So for the score, I'm going to say somewhere around 18, possibly 20, in all honesty. Into Intelligence. This one's kind of weird. He's in some of the same classes as Jim, which is nice. And then spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, we should be good. He can come up with some ideas, but he also doesn't come up with a whole lot on the other hand. He can be smart and make good decisions, but the curse of the comic relief is he kind of is slow on the draw sometimes for the sake of comedy, so it's kind of up in the air. Honestly though, I think he's pretty smart and makes pretty good decisions, so because of that, I would put his score at somewhere around 14 to 16. Into Wisdom. He's pretty good at tracking, right? So you track goblins and trolls and things like that. He does a pretty good job of that overall. He makes some pretty wise decisions. Spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. Helping Jim realize not to kill Gnome Chomsky. Things like that. But there are also the times where, I said spoiler alert, but I'm going to say it again. 3, 2, 1. We should be good. When you know how to escape and you choose not to because you don't want to do it that way until you absolutely have to. Gatto's Keep, the volcano, if you know, you know. That's not really wise. It's wiser at that point to escape by whatever means necessary than to die in a volcano. I think we could mostly agree on that, but I could be wrong. You might have something to say. So it's just kind of things like that, where would you rather die or not? And sometimes he would prefer to die. So, you know, that's his decision. I would argue that's not very wise, but you might disagree. So, for the score, I'm going to say somewhere around 12, 14, possibly 16, given Gnome Chomsky and how useful that was. But that is really your call. Alright, into Charisma. So, imagine, if you will, your average nerd. A little on the heavier side, braces, gamer, whole 9 yards. That's Toby. That's who he is, right? So that's going to kind of negate some of his charisma, but not a whole lot, because spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, we should be good. He's really good with deception, like lying to his grandma and the green trolls. I forget what they're called offhand. I don't have Chill here to help me, unfortunately. But he's got the deception down. Then you factor in the thing that happens a little later with Darcy. My man, I'm gonna leave it at that. But for the charisma score, I'm gonna say somewhere around 14 to 16. As for the straightforward build, you're gonna go human. Obviously. I would go normal human because he's relatively good at everything, so that +1 can be pretty good for him. As for the class, you're gonna go fighter. This works with his warhammer and his armor that he does get later on. I probably should have said spoiler alert there, but if you made it this far in the video and you haven't left, even though there are spoilers, it's kind of on you. Go great weapon fighting and champion to kind of give him more chances to hit critically. As for the conceptual build, I would go dwarf for the race, mainly because you're going to go barbarian for the class, specifically battle rager, which is a dwarven only subclass. So that works with his armor and just kind of overall makes him better and harder to hit. So, or better in a fight, really. So it kind of works well for him, for the conceptual build. I don't remember if I said it at the beginning of that, but conceptual build. But that is all I have for you fine adventurers today. Be on the lookout for my next video, which will be on Claire. Other than that, all links to my social media will be down in the description below, so feel free to check those out if you so desire. Also, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share if you feel so inclined. Would greatly appreciate it. And if you leave a comment, you just might help a DM in need. Other than that, I will catch you all later.